You're listening to Broncos for Breakfast with Nick Kendell and Scott Kennedy. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Good morning, Broncos country.
Gotta get the Facebook group on up in here before we get too far down the tracks. And one more spinning wheel. And we are live. Welcome in to another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by my friend and co-host, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how are you doing this fine morning?
I'm doing good. It almost feels like a Monday to me.
Yeah, right.
Travel baseball weekends just wipe me out. Being out in the sun and coaching 11-year-olds who will drive you crazy. And then Monday you're just kind of like, ugh, I don't feel like doing anything. And then so it's good to get the Broncos going on Tuesday for me because I'm recharged, refreshed, ready to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm feeling that too. Obviously, the coffee helps a little bit. It's 7 a.m. here in Seattle, and I know, are you on coffee?
Energy
coffee
in the cup. This is actual coffee. Sometimes it's just a prop, and I fill it with water. But this is actually first coffee today.
Okay, well, there we go. Awesome. I am drinking some coffee as well. I know Seattle's known for coffee, but the wife and I got a nice coffee maker for our wedding, so we always brew our own, which is a pretty nice. And before we even get to our introductions and everything like that, we got some super stickers out of the gate. Muhammad Badri, John is not here today, so I cannot pull up super stickers other than
Muhammad's super sticker says, "How's it going?" So appreciate you looking in. Things are going good. Sometimes the weekend and the family should be the favorite part. And my son is just killing the baseball right now, and it's fun to watch. It's one of those things that I've said for a long time. I said, I might be biased, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. He's a pretty damn good baseball player, and he's been fun to watch here this summer.
Yep. No, absolutely. That's what position does he play?
Center field and first base. He sprained his ankle in the first game yesterday, so we played first base in the second game. But still managed short porch, so he still managed to hit out his third home run with his back ankle sprained. So the first two he hit on Saturday would have been gone on any field we played on. We played on a 200-foot field, and the first one he hit would have been out on 300. It cleared the pine trees in right field. It was amazing. A lot of fun. So
he hit a home run with an injured lower body injury. Was he like Kirk Gibson around?
Yeah, I told him when he hit it, and it was fun. Sorry to take this, but since Muhammad, since you asked, when we first played this team in the beginning of the year, it was the first time he'd seen a left-handed curveball, and he's left-handed, so it buckled him. So this time with an injured ankle, he stayed back. And I told him beforehand, I'm like, listen, sometimes the best golf swings I have or when I'm hurt because I stay within myself. I'm like, this field's short enough. If you just stay back. And he stayed back, sat on one, wham, and knocked one out. It was nice because that kid struck him out twice buckled with left-handed curveballs. I'm like, hey, it's all right. You've never seen that. We'll work on that. It's okay.
That's awesome. And we also got a super coming in here from Max Power of $2. Is that the euro symbol? Is that the pound?
That's a pound. That's a pound. So Max, you're going to tell us who your team is, because if you're using the pound symbol, you've got a team.
Does Tyree Cleveland prevent Tim Patrick from being re-signed? Well, Max, I guess that's a possibility. The Broncos, the way it works is like there's a budget for a position. A lot of teams set it up that way. And if you have two incredible players, sometimes you make it work, but the Broncos probably are not in a position to sign both Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton, would be my assumption, especially if they go out there and have to make a splash at quarterback cap wise. So does Tyree Cleveland prevent Tim Patrick from being resigned? No. Does it make it easier for the Broncos to move on from life from without Tim Patrick? Yes. But Tyree Cleveland isn't really truly in my opinion at least, he can play some, but he's not truly an X receiver. You see the Broncos in this last draft a guy that Scott likes a lot in Seth Williams. I think that is the contingency plan for the backup X, whether that be to Tim Patrick because the Broncos move on from Courtland Sutton, or if that's the backup to Courtland Sutton because the Broncos move on from Tim Patrick.
Yeah, at three, he's at $3 million, a little over $3 million right now. So
for the second round tender.
That's not bad, even for a backup receiver. So depending on where he plays himself into, Tim Patrick may be the one that prevents himself from being re-signed, good or bad. If he's really good, he might get an offer that the Broncos can't afford. If he's really bad, you don't want to keep him anyway. So I would say that it's relied more upon what Patrick does this year than any of the outside factors.
Yeah, absolutely. And back up to Cortland Sutton. I mean, I think you see Patrick play some Z this year. You see Cortland play some Z. I think the main 11 personnel, which is what most teams run a majority of the time, but Shermer likes it as well. He does like 12 personnel as well, but mostly 11. You'll see Jerry Jeudy in the slot, I think. Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton on the outside. You'll work in KJ Hamler some. Deshaun Hamilton's out, which is too bad. I know he hasn't lived up to expectations, but still, you'd rather have a talented wide receiver who can do some slot stuff out there. And we'll see what happens with Seth Williams and Tyree Cleveland. But I think those are going to be your main 3 wide receivers. So let's get to the introductions. Thank you guys, Mohammed and Max, for the super chats, getting it rolling right out the gate. We appreciate you both. This is Broncos for Breakfast every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. It will be myself, Nick Kendell, and Scott Kennedy. You can find us on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH and at Scout Kennedy. You can follow the Mothership Twitter account at Mile High Huddle and at Huddle Up Pod. Guys, also make sure if you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. If you do that, that can help us reach new listeners, can help us get new advertisers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, we appreciate the super chats, but you don't have to be leaving a monetary donation to be a part of this community or to be extremely helpful to this community. You can also go to Facebook, click the thumbs up right now. We got a 6 on my side of things as far as hearts and likes. Let's get that up to 7. John Elway's number. Come on. We can do that. Oh, there it is. Boom. Awesome. And subscribe, like, and share on YouTube. Also, folks, over on YouTube, please go to youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. You can follow Scott's channel there. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now as well. If you just click that link, it'll take you there. And Scott, how are we doing? I know last Thursday during the episode, we eclipsed 800 people. Where are we at right now?
I've been a little slow, but I'm at 810 right now, and I expect a little bit on here. We always pick up some after this, and I after on Friday morning or Thursday after the show, I actually went into the archives and pulled up a spotlight on Tyree Cleveland because I know we'd been talking about him. So it was him. It's like, this is who I model my game after. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to do after football. These are my goals, along with some high school highlights. So that was kind of fun. That should be the most recent video. And Max says, I'm a big football fan. If I root for a team, it's Leicester. And what's interesting, Max, is that's what Nick's hat looks like. Nick's hat looks like a Leicester hat. If I'm just looking out of the corner of my eye and I see him over there, it looks like he's wearing a Leicester hat. So, yeah, I think everybody can be Leicester fans for a lot of reasons, unless you happen to be playing against them. That's an admirable club. So respect.
For sure. And we get Charlie coming in here, having a kind of what goes on in my head a lot of times. Charlie Beagle, Drew Lock is garbage? Is not. Is too. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Screw you. Rinse, repeat. See you tomorrow. The debate rages on. Well, Charlie, lucky for you that there is a terminal point for this debate. And I know that's kind of the off season still where people are going to be debating. Not everybody has eyes on it, but reality is going to reveal itself sooner or later. We have obviously the Vikings camp, the Broncos versus Vikings practice coming up. That is going to do a lot of heavy lifting as far as what we're getting here. And you've heard me say it on this show a couple times. When it comes to 11-on-11s, OTAs, 7-on-7s, it's a zero-sum game. Are the quarterbacks struggling, or is it because the defensive backs are incredible? Is Jerry Jeudy cooking what cornerbacks because he's awesome, or is it because the cornerbacks are bad? Tight end, Noah Fant killing it out there. Or is it because the linebackers couldn't, cover the sun from their eyes? We're not sure yet, because if one of those guys is succeeding, it means somebody else is getting beat. To what extent? It's your own team. So we'll find out how much that matters once we start to see these reps against other teams.
Yeah, I agree. I like listening to Nick get on the lock talk. And again, Max, said earlier in one of these chats, so this is becoming my favorite show. You guys have a pleasant demeanor. That's because neither one of us right now are going to get overly emotional about opinions on stuff that is preseason. I mean, we're not even preseason. We're pre-preseason.
Yep.
Now, once we start seeing games and we start seeing, some stupid things happen or some bad things happen or some really good things happen, you'll start seeing us get excited, get a little bit more excited. But right now, I'm not going to be overly passionate about, who should be the starting quarterback. There's a long way to go. Who should be doing this? Who should be doing that? Or so-and-so had a bad day. Man, it's June.
Yep.
So, let's talk about things that could happen and can happen and are happening, as opposed to, getting too up or down about some of the things that we read and hear right now. Unless it's a game-changing personnel move, then we'll get a little fired up. But
for sure,
yeah, we're going to be a little more even keel at this point of the day.
Gonna try to. Max Power saying hi, babies. Well, hi to you, Max, as well. Bob Skinner in the house, also morning Broncos country. DBA in the house. What's good, y'all? What's good with you? How you doing? We also have Corey saying Nick must have forgotten his coffee. I actually did. I grabbed my coffee. EJ saying good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Vic is in the house as well on YouTube. How you doing, Vic? Morning, everyone. Go Broncos. Ophir, haven't seen you in a second. Good afternoon, boys. How you doing, Ophir? Good to see you. We got Jeremy, Kirk Cousins, Sean in the house. Good to see you. Good morning, guys. Malcolm Brown in here. Also, hello from Homer, Alaska. Hope you're doing well. Hope the grandkids, the wild grandkids, as you like to say in Kansas, are doing well. Mike 556 in here saying morning. And Ophir, I'm not gonna say hello from Kafar Saba. God, I hope I did it. Sean saying MHH is life. Well, Sean, we appreciate that. We got John in the house as well. Good morning, Broncos country. Thank you for continuing these live streams. I'm glad you love the live streams. Keeps me from getting bored at work.
It's all love.
Yes.
These are love streams. It's all love.
And Tim Durr in the house. Morning, fellas. Good to see you. Gary Lee Palmer. Gary, I love Gary. Gary is always coming in here being supportive, offering stars a lot of times, which is very helpful as well. Good morning, all. Good morning.
Sounds like a scratch golfer to me.
It does. Miguel also in the house. Good morning, fellas. Yesterday morning went to put on the pod, and it was only Monday. Long week already.
Talk about a double whammy. It's Monday, and then you find out, you get reminded that it's Monday.
So true. Tommy Simmers in the house too. Emmanuel Sanders played some X. KJ has a skill set. I think, didn't Demaryius Thomas mostly play the X position? Like the line of scrimmage, beating the press? Yeah, you will see guys kind of go off coverage as well, but I always thought Demaryius Thomas more so of the X than the Z receiver. Kenny Booker in the house too. Here's one from Kenny. If you could go in 3 games this season, home or away, what games would you go to? Let me pull up the Broncos schedule here real quick.
I was just gonna have to look it up myself. I'd probably go to the Chargers.
At Chargers?
I'd probably want to go. I'd want to go to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to go to Mile High. I'd probably want to go Chargers. I'd stay out of the. I know the Broncos are matched up against the AFC North. I always get them confused now.
Yeah.
I don't need to go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or Baltimore. Last time I was in Baltimore, someone broke into the trunk of the car and stole my backpack. So, so I can think of 2 right now. I'd probably go back to LA, where I lived for about 9 years, and then I'd want to go to Denver. So let me look at the other one.
I got my 3 already. I've been to Denver, but I want to go to all the stadiums I possibly can. So I want to go to Vegas. I've never been to Vegas. So that would be fun. I know I'm from the Midwest, and we do a lot of hiking and outdoor stuff. So Vegas has never come across my radar. I've also never been to California.
Vegas is a hike, though. Vegas is a hike. You can do the strip up and back through all the casinos. That is a hike.
Take me out, boy. I have not been yet, but I want to go to a game out there. It looks like a beautiful. It looks like a giant Roomba too, but that's going to be quite an experience. At Dallas, hello, Jerry World. Take me to Jerry World. That would be a lot of fun. And so that's 2 away games. I got to go to a Bronco game at home. I think the Kansas City game is going to be fun, electric. I think that's going to be the most competitive game we've had, Kansas City versus Denver at Denver in a while. So those are the 3 games I'm looking for.
I'll meet you there. That'd probably be my 3rd one too. I've been to the stadium when I was running combines for high school kids. We actually did them at the Kansas City Chiefs practice facility. But for atmosphere and everything, that would probably be my pick. I actually went to the Black Hole. I've been to a game in Oakland. So I feel like I've been to Vegas. I've done the Raiders. I've been to Jerry's World a bunch, just not for a Cowboys game. I actually went for went and watched 60,000 were watching Kyler Murray in a high school state final.
Wow.
So that was fun. But and I was at a combine and there too. And then, then I look at these others and like, I don't need to be anywhere near the Northeast. No, thank you. No offense. Not my cup of tea, especially in that type of weather. So, yeah, I was born in Akron, Ohio, so I'm familiar with Cleveland. Don't need to go there. I'll be there enough. So yeah, I'd probably take, I'll meet you in Kansas City for the third one.
Awesome. And I also hear the game at the Chargers Stadium is kind of weird. It's like a smaller stadium or whatnot. I don't think they're in their new facility yet, but you can get like the sea breeze going on. You can see the ocean. So I hear that one's pretty beautiful as well. We got Sean coming in here saying letting Tim Patrick go would be a mistake. He's been the most reliable receiver the last couple of years. And that's a good point, Sean. I'm obviously doing some projection here when I'm talking about Tim Patrick, but I just don't see the way the Broncos salary cap and budget sets up that you can pay Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick. And Tim Patrick, while he's been really good, he doesn't have the same ability that Courtland Sutton does. Courtland Sutton has a chance to be, one of the top 10 receivers in football if he's not already when he's healthy. He's just more of a difference maker than Tim Patrick. And then you have Jerry Jeudy, who, by all reports, is absolutely just dominating OTAs right now. What does that mean exactly? That remains to be seen. But the Broncos invested a first-round pick on him as well, so that matters. So I think it's going to come down to Courtland Sutton versus Tim Patrick. They'll probably approach Courtland Sutton first. If Courtland Sutton's asking for top 3 money at the wide receiver position coming off that injury, maybe you pivot a little bit and you say, okay, we're not paying a wide receiver that much money. That's a dependent position, and he's not out there looking like Julio Jones. So he's good, but he's not Julio Jones good. So we'll let him go and we'll save some money and we'll pay Tim Patrick, who's going to give us 80% of what Courtland Sutton brings. That's the conversation.
For 25% of the money.
Yes, exactly. So that's the business side of things, right? It's not always fun. We can't go into Madden and turn off salary cap in the settings, right? You have a finite that you can spend. But would it be a mistake? Possibly. Tim Patrick's really good. I thought the Broncos, if they were in a better position, or at like a more defined position where people weren't fighting for their jobs, I think maybe, and also if Courtland Sutton wasn't coming off an injury, you maybe would see Tim Patrick traded this offseason, even though he's good. It's just having Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick similar position at wide receiver at the X. Also guys that coming up for free agency at the exact same time. You could probably get a 3rd round pick for Tim Patrick, or maybe a 4 and a future 4 or something like that, which is okay value. I mean, wide receiver is probably one of the deepest positions in football right now, but teams would bring him in for what he's done the past 2 seasons, but not where the Broncos are right now. They need all hands on deck, all the help they can get to save a lot of guys' jobs. So didn't happen, but I hear you, Sean. It's a risk. What do you think? I mean, have you watched much Tim Patrick? I know he was kind of under the radar. He got injured at Utah, but he's 6'5". He runs pretty well. Didn't have a drop last year. Blocks like hell. I mean, he's a really underrated wide receiver.
No, you look at the numbers, and what Sean is saying. He's reliable. Well, that's good. But is he a difference maker or not? Like I said at the beginning, I think Tim Patrick is going to help determine what happens with Tim Patrick. If he's good enough, he's got the numbers that he's probably not going to want to be a backup forever. But how much can you keep him involved? What's he have 50, 60 catches? Get a nice bump on your pay. He goes from 3 to 5. If he's making that kind of money, that's affordable for that type of production. But he may get a better offer than that, and he may want it. So, and then again, a lot has to do with where Courtland is when he's coming off that injury. Because one of the problems with what we've talked about before with the injuries isn't necessarily the structure of the knee. It's all the muscles around it. You end up injuring something else because you haven't been working out your hamstrings or your quad, your calf nearly as much. So there can be setbacks like that. So it's a hell of an insurance policy. So like Nick said, when you've got Courtland Sutton coming off an injury, you've got Patrick there. If you're positive about Courtland, then maybe you make a move. But what a nice backup piece. You're kind of like looking on the other side of the ball. Your leading sacker from last year is listed second on the depth chart. If you're going to make a run, you're going to need depth. And so, 1 year, a 3rd round pick isn't worth that insurance policy right now that you've got in Patrick.
Yeah, especially when all these coaches are fighting for their jobs. It's a make or break year for Drew Lock as well. it's just, and Cortland's coming off injury, just doesn't line up to move on from him, even though his value would have been very high. And then hopefully if you do move on from him, you can set yourself in a position where you can get back a compensatory pick in 2023. But I want to get to this comment here. First, we got to say hello to Glenn. Hey guys, how you doing, Glenn? Good to see you. Hope things are well. And we got Miguel coming in here saying, do you guys think Juwan James will win his grievance against the Broncos? I think nobody wins. Personally, I don't think it's going to be either side for what he's asking or the Broncos giving him nothing. I think there's going to be a settlement. Probably the NFL is probably going to push that way and calling for collusion from the NFL and the Broncos. I mean, I would say the NFL definitely had a heavy hand in pushing things the way it did, because this is, while the Broncos and Juwan James are the players, it's obviously the union versus the NFL to an extent, as well as the main, puppet masters on both sides. So will he win his grievance? To an extent, I guess, but I think it's going to be a settlement.
I agree. That's where I think too. I think it'll go away quietly. There'll be a settlement. That'll be the end of it. They'll move on. Him getting another contract helps right away. He's get a $500,000 workout bonus, and then could earn his way into getting several. So that helps. Because if you start getting the feeling that you've been blackballed from the league for something like this, for this suit, then there's problems. Then there becomes problems. And then if I'm his attorney, I'm looking at the NFL as well, not just the Broncos. But I think there'll be a settlement too. Again, it's one of those things. I'm not an attorney, and I hate to speculate, but they say that all the time when someone goes down with an injury. Oh, you always hate to speculate about an injury, but I'm going to anyway. I kind of laugh when they say that, when you're watching the game. So let me say this. I hate to speculate because I'm not an attorney, but I'm going to anyway. I think there'll be a settlement too.
It's the cleanest. It's the cleanest path, the path of least resistance. And Stuart asking a similar question. Just wanted to pull you out, Stuart, and say thank you for the question over on Facebook. But answering it, Greg Smith in the house. Good morning, fellas. Good morning to you, Greg. How you doing? Sean coming in here saying Drew Lock may be a bust, but he could also be league MVP. Only 2021 can decide. I'm going to push back on the first one. I think we've said it before on here, but there needs to be a little bit of perspective when it comes to the quarterback conversation and where guys are selected. In the last decade, there have been 4 quarterbacks drafted outside of the first round that have gone on to be franchise caliber quarterbacks, in my opinion. There is Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr. That's it. That's not a great sample size, but those are 4 good to great quarterbacks, all franchise, I would say. Kirk Cousins had an incredible year last year. I don't think enough people are talking about that. But Drew Lock, to get where he's at right now, even if he doesn't go on to become a franchise quarterback, I think he is his most likely path right now is to be a guy who bounces around the league for a while and is a spot starter in the Ryan Fitzpatrick mold, right? Like he can make some big time throws, but just doesn't protect the football enough. Just a lot of weaknesses that keep him from becoming a franchise quarterback. I think it's the most likely path for a second round pick at the quarterback position. That is not a bust. You talk about a league of Christian Hackenbergs, Brian Brahms, Deshaun Kaisers, Geno Smiths, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a lot of people who can be busts. I would not say Drew Lock's path right now would be a true on bust for a quarterback drafted in the second round. Yeah, so
it's the same thing when people say he's overrated. Well, that's a relative statement. What do you rate him? Isn't this guy a bust? Well, what were your expectations? He was taken in the second round. What were you expecting? Were you expecting a franchise guy and a top 10 quarterback out of the second round? No. You're drafting a guy with upside and hoping he can develop. So far, that's where we're at with Drew Lock. So not a bust. And he could also be MVP theoretically. I'm not going to put a big wager on that one though.
I mean, he has the weaponry around him, right? Like there's quarterbacks, if they are, Drew Lock just needs to play within himself or either quarterback position, because this team is set up where you don't have like true on weaknesses on the offense. You got 2 good running backs. You got 3 good wide receivers. You got one of the best young emerging tight ends in football. The offensive line, well, right tackle, God bless, when are we ever going to figure that out? But the offensive line in general, you got Mike Munchak. Almost everybody's coming back and going to be a year better, right? Like there is the quarterback is set up to succeed personnel wise. You can argue Pat Shurmur all day. I know people will. But I just it comes down to that quarterback, right? And I'm hoping for the best from either guy. It does sound like right now, from the sources that I have talked with, Drew Lock is not keeping up with Bridgewater. The Bridgewater is actually impressing as far as how quickly he is taking the offense and showing chemistry quicker than they thought at this point in time. Take that as what you will. Well, Nick doesn't have sources. I talk to people, but whatever. But we have a long way to go yet, right? So that's we'll see. But right now, it does seem like Bridgewater is emerging at this point as the favorite. But man, a lot of football yet to be played.
Yeah, a quarterback isn't going to be MVP of this team.
No.
I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb on this one. That you're going to need like a 50-5 season to touchdowns, interceptions and that's not this team. That's not going to be this team. So you might say could be a plus starter in the 2021 season. Maybe we'll see.
That's the best case scenario. Mm-hmm. I am hoping that would be. I hope Drew Lock becomes the guy because you have him on contract, on a rookie contract for 2 more years. That gives you some flexibility over both the next 2 seasons. And as for what Teddy Bridgewater could offer stability-wise, it's a 1-year contract. It feels like you go right back to the pool after the season. And I just got a little bit of quarterback fatigue still after this last offseason, and especially with passing on Justin Fields, that one might hurt, but we'll see. Gary Leeds Palmer coming in here saying stars for my stars. Thank you very much, Gary. You are the man. We appreciate you. Mark Anthony coming in here saying, geez, what time is it? BFB can't possibly be on. I must be dreaming. Well, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, we will see you today 1 minute late. I'm typically not that guy, but that's okay. Let me see. We got Michael in the house too. Good morning, Nick.
I was in the YouTube chat covering for you, so
thank God.
We were present. We were present. So when I jump on, I usually jump onto the YouTube chat at about 5 minutes till because I'm ready.
We have Michael coming in here saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. Go Broncos. I got my Mile High Huddle swag yesterday. Awesome.
I've seen it. Let them be haters. I've seen it. So
let them hate.
What's the 3? Is that Drew Lock? Is that Drew Lock's number? That's what I figured.
The Huddle Up Pod, their brand is definitely more pro Drew Lock than any of my brand, which is, different strokes for different folks. We're going to see how it plays out. But there's different ways to fan and different ways to cover a team. And I love it that we have different opinions on here and different people can find their niche. I mean, we're already a Broncos morning live stream covering how niche can you get, right? Broncos draft live stream at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like it's great. I mean, we have a lot of eyeballs in here, but it's different strokes for different folks, which is great. Can only be seen as a great thing. And I want to get to the super here from Tyler, who we appreciate a lot. Keep up the great work, Tyler, over on YouTube with a $5 super saying hashtag Broncos for breakfast. And we appreciate you, Tyler. If you got any questions as well, please hit us. And I'm going to go through the chat here for a second just to see if there's anything that's leading us down a path. But I got to ask you, Scott, news came down the track Sunday. Julio Jones off to the Tennessee Titans. I have not been super impressed with the Titans off season. I feel like they're extremely weak right now at the cornerback position. I love Caleb Farley. Is he going to play this year? I don't know. Christian Fulton, they drafted him to be a guy. We'll see. They've signed Bud Dupree, but they've been looking for a pass rush for a bit now. I love Jeffrey Simmons, but we'll see what goes there. And the offensive line, I think, is only average. I love Taylor Lewan, but the rest of it's just fine. But adding Julio, how does that change the Titans? What do you think about the return for the Falcons and the direction for the Falcons, and just your general thoughts of the fallout from the Julio trade?
The trade itself, I think that was about as good a deal as that the Falcons could have hoped for. Getting a second rounder, it projected probably second half of the second round. So you're talking 45 to 60 in that range, which for the player is cheap. That's when you're talking about one of the best wide receivers in the game, but he's owed $40 million. So what I didn't see, and I again, when it's coming down on the weekends, travel baseball weekends for me, I'm not as into it as I might be during the week. So I didn't see if there's any money kicked in or any of that type of stuff. So for the Titans, he makes you better. He immediately makes you better. Even if he's on the sidelines helping the other players, you just got better. So Julio Jones is a phenom. If he's healthy, he's still a 90 catches, 1,500 yards guy. But the thing is, and I've seen some of I'm sure fantasy football players just get frustrated as hell the same way that Falcons fans do with Julio and his lack of production in the red zone. I'll tell you what, if he's got some help a running game and some guys to take some pressure off him, they use him like a running back. Slant to Julio, screen to Julio, breaks 3 tackles, 15 yards, he gets beat up like Derrick Henry. And by the time they get to the red zone, a lot of times he's on the sidelines, which is nuts. Yeah. So it's not that he can't. I mean, he's 6'3", he's plenty good enough to be in the red zone, obviously. So hopefully you can use him more wisely, scale back his workload, and he'll be a difference maker for you. Now, for the Falcons, I said from the get-go, the only way it makes sense to trade to draft Kyle Pitts is if Julio's going. Then the best player available makes sense because this isn't a win-now team. Oh, we're drafting Kyle Pitts to win now. You're not. No, you're not. Not with a 32-ranked defense and a bad running game. No, you're not. But this makes sense. And why Julio wanted to go is because he knows this isn't a win-now team. Yeah. So going from 5-11 to 11-5, got a chance to win, not too far from home. Nashville's 3.5 hours drive from Atlanta. And he's from South Alabama. So interesting anyway. Yeah,
absolutely. How do you feel? I know that you and I both have, at least for me personally, I'm speaking for you here, but we took off our fan hats a while ago and put on the analyst hat. But Julio might have been on Atlanta before you put on that full on analyst hat. And I kind of rationalized that way, like with Von Miller, right? Like I'm very cold, calculated, et cetera, when it comes to the Broncos, analyzing the Broncos, watching the games, et cetera, because I'm still a fan, but it's a job, it's work. I want to be the best analyst I can. That's true for everybody but Von Miller, because Von was on the team before I became this analyst.
You're breaking up just a little bit, Nick.
Okay. Von Miller, he, hopefully I'm coming through here. He was a guy that, when I was first coming on to loving this team a lot, he was drafted by the Broncos, and I take off my analyst hat when it comes to Von. Do you feel that way about Julio, given also the same draft, that 2011 draft? Man, what an incredible draft.
With Julio, with a guy like that, being the franchise that the Falcons are, you'd be tough to find a player that has more wins in his career than Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. Well, Matt Ryan's, a little bit older than him, but frankly, this has been a golden age for Falcons football. This is one of the worst franchises in the NFL, since Arthur Blank took over. So I'm not nearly as passionate about that type of stuff as I used to be. So I'm happy for Julio. Julio, except for being ambushed on live television, Julio handled everything the right way. That's when it came out. He wanted for a trade. He did everything quietly. He's done everything that's been asked. He's never in the media. He's a true pro, and it's been taken care of. And frankly, Arthur Blank has been good to him. So we'll root for. I'm happy for Julio Jones. Flat out, I am. It's amazing to see how quickly people turn on the players when they think they've turned on you. But I'm happy for Julio Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have some discourse here about Drew Lock. And I want to shout out to Jason here over on YouTube. This is kind of where I'm at as well. Saying incredibly unlikely, but Josh Allen's rookie season was atrocious, and he was near MVP last season. So maybe just a 99.99% unlikely.
So you're telling me there's a chance. Well, and I looked at, frankly, if you look at Teddy Bridgewater's Pro Bowl season in Minnesota, his numbers weren't very good.
No.
And if you're a Pro Bowl quarterback, you're going to be in the top 10 of MVP voting. So, overall, if you just look straight at the numbers and not watch the game and see the impact that he has, during different situations and the impact he has on the wins and losses, which ends up being as big a factor as the numbers sometimes, then, you don't have to be a 50-5 guy. The problem is that the guys that are winning at the top right now are throwing 45 touchdowns against single-digit interceptions.
Yeah, and the game has changed, man.
They're winning, except for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's season last year defied belief. That he was able to have a season like that on a team that was still that bad is statistically improbable.
There's a reason that Vegas has them, the Texans, at I think 2.5 wins in a 17-game season. Man. They are going to be bad. He had statistically the best season ever for a team that was as bad as that was. He had a better statistical season than I think Tom Brady's even ever had. There we are. And I want to get to Max here. Max Power. I never understood why people attack the Broncos coaches. Wide receiver, offensive line, quarterback, running back, tight end coach are all top tier. Even Shermer isn't as bad as the fans make out. It is cliche, but one I like to say, and I think I picked that up from Bucky Brooks, but I think it is a old cliche. It's a Hall of Fame players make Hall of Fame coaches, right? So if like we see it, small sample size, but we see it with Bill Belichick this last year, right? He loses Tom Brady. That team slips into mediocrity fast. It's not that Bill Belichick's a bad coach now or an average coach now. He's not. And they lost a lot of people because of the opt-outs and whatnot as well. But if you have, look, Andy Reid all those years, right? What were they doing the years when he didn't have Donovan McNabb? What was he doing the years that he didn't have Patrick Mahomes? If you have incredible top-tier talent, you're going to look good as a coach. Well,
and it's an easier blame. You know, it's easier to blame because, they're like, well, this guy isn't playing well. The scheme doesn't look right. And especially when you're talking offense, because you mentioned right there, wide receiver, OL, QB, running back, tight end. It only takes one person to screw up on offense to end a play. One. Yep. And that's what makes football the greatest team sport in existence, because it's truly, you can have one guy mess up on offense and the whole play's dead. So, yep. If you've ever coached at any level, you've told someone 60 times what to do and they still do it wrong.
Yeah.
So it can be tough, but they're easier to blame. It's an easy target, and it's a lot easier to change a coach than it is to change a 6-man wide receiver core or getting 3 new quarterbacks in. It's a lot easier to change that out.
If coaches are hired to be fired.
Yeah,
right. Like
if you look at the team that I cheer for behind me in international football, they change their coach every 18 months because it's a whole lot easier to change a coach than it is to revamp a squad. So that's one of the reasons. And part of the other reason is someone else has probably already fired these guys. It's so incestual. I always said it's like being a made man in the mafia. Once you've got the job, you're in. Doesn't matter even, he's coached here, and here. Well, he's been fired from every single one of them. And because of failure, they just keep recycling. So I really like when I see a team have the guts to make a hire that is not just recycling these same old dudes.
Yeah, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Cliff Kingsbury, shouting him out. Thank God that he's that. I love Kyler Murray, and what he's done to Kyler Murray is a travesty. Benjamin Flores come in here saying, "Good job, fellas. Never miss it. We appreciate you, Benjamin. Hope you're doing well. Keep picking your kid." And over on Facebook, we got Ashton also in the house saying, "Catching it late, starting from the beginning." Well, appreciate you, Ashton. And we got Charlie Beagle coming in here. Charlie always has the spice in the morning. I love it. Nick brings all the passion of an H&R Block accountant to the game of football. Charlie, come join me in the student section of a Iowa Hawkeye game. I am a crazy person. I am the loudest person there for sure. I got my mom's a teacher, and I definitely inherited the teacher voice when it comes to cheering.
And I watch a lot. I watch most games by myself because I'm one of those fans you don't want to be around because I'm complaining about everything. I'm calling people names. I'm doing this, and then and then I'll get online and say, well, the internet is good for me because it gives you a nice filter.
Yes.
In person, I'm much more harsh.
And Ophir coming in here asking, what if someone watches this show, but they do intermittent fasting? How would they call this show?
Well, since it's not literal that you can't have Broncos for breakfast anyway, so it's all kind of theoretical or, anyway, so we're not actually eating Broncos. We're talking Broncos, and that's what we're having. We're having talk for breakfast anyway.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Broncos at breakfast, because breakfast doesn't have to be a meal. It can be a time of day. So how's that for you? John coming in here saying, anyone kept up with Fields OTAs? I haven't. Just curious if you heard anything impressive. I've heard he is the coaches. He's taken to the playbook really well, and he throws a really good ball. And Andy Dalton has been impressed with him as well. I think Andy Dalton realizes the writing on the wall there. Obviously, when you give up that capital move for a quarterback, they're eventually going to move on to that quarterback. But it doesn't sound like I haven't heard anything like overwhelming for any of the quarterbacks right now for the rookie quarterbacks. But that's also probably because my laser focused on the Denver Broncos to bring you guys the best coverage as possible. But I haven't heard. It's not like Jordan Love where there's this like quiet hush surrounding Jordan Love. And if Jordan Love was like lighting it up like Patrick Mahomes was a year or two, I think Aaron Rodgers would already be gone. I think there is my God, Jordan Love does not look good. If we trade Aaron Rodgers, we're going to have to play Jordan Love, and this is going to be bad. that's kind of what I've heard in my interpretation of the Packers situation going on right now, but haven't heard that with any of the rookie quarterbacks just yet.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll take a little more look into it for our next show and ask that again, just to see what I'll tap into some people up in Chicago and see what they're seeing and hearing. And, and again, it's all relative, it's self on self at this point, but you're interested. Like I said, you can't tell necessarily that someone can play, but you can tell if they can't. Yeah. When you're doing these type of drills in preseason. So I'll see what I can find out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stuart coming back in, asking, who do you guys think will win the punt and kickoff return spot? Spencer, Hamler, or the new 7th rounder? This is I'm curious who he means by the new 7th rounder. Seth Williams is not going to be doing kickoff and punt returns.
He was sixth, so he's speaking of someone else. He was a 6th rounder.
Unless he's confusing Seth, because I can't think of another 7th rounder that would fit there. For the Broncos, they drafted edge rusher and a defensive lineman, I believe, off the top of my head, and K. Vincent Jr., which again I'm not sure there. But
see my reaction?
Yes.
Bobby just got here or has been here.
But we'll get back to you real quick, Stuart. I want to say hello to Pobby in the house, dropping the super here, dropping a most generous super here, saying good morning, everyone. Sorry for coming in late, Pobby. You're a wizard. There's no late or early. You arrive precisely when you mean to. And keep up the great work, guys. Well, Pobby, we'll keep on keeping it up if you're going to keep being that generous with us. We appreciate you. Hopefully everything's going well on your end. I know you've had a tough time here recently with some family stuff, but still, hope things are well. And we appreciate you stopping by, saying hello, and fortunate for us, maybe some serendipity, I guess, that your work schedule now makes it so it's easier for you to join us for this show than the late show. So we appreciate you coming by, and also make sure you swing by often. You don't always have to leave a super too. We appreciate it, obviously, of course, but you can come by and just say hello and drop some football questions. We love you for it. And Pobby's got a heart of gold because she's also from or currently resides in the great state of Iowa. So always got to give a shout out to the Hawkeye State.
Yeah, without a doubt, we're represented all over the map.
Yes,
the Middle East. We had Philippines was about as far away as we got as well too. So Stuart McNair, that's
it's the same question.
That's Kirk McNair's son. I know a Stuart McNair. He's been on an Alabama beat writing legend in Kirk McNair. So if that's you, Stuart, and you happen to be a Broncos fan too, well, hello. And if not, well, it's nice to meet you.
But as far as punt and kickoff go, I think it's just going to come down to roster math. Is Hamler healthy? If not, then they'll probably lean into Spencer. Is it because they want to keep Tyree Cleveland and Seth Williams on the 53? Then they might have to go into Hamler. Also, Tyree Cleveland could get some run as far as kickoff returner. Typically for those positions, you don't in the NFL these days, unless you have somebody who's like really, really special, and that's what they do. They don't offer as much at wide receiver as far as the offense goes. You'll see guys do both, but a lot of times for punt returner, it'll be a little guy who's a little bit more jittery, smaller, and kickoff returner just because of the speed of the guys running down the field. That guy would be a little bit bigger, sturdier. So you could see somebody like Hamler doing punts and Tyree Cleveland doing kickoff. But it's going to come down to roster math in the end, and that's a battle where it will be interesting to see who they keep. I mean, obviously Spencer is a good returner, but are the Broncos too deep at wide receiver to keep somebody who's just a returner? Possibly. We're going to see how it plays out.
Yeah, but not necessarily. I mean, if you can be a special teams guy, you can absolutely make the team on special teams. So he'd be return, coverage, all that type of stuff. So we'll see. Because you don't want to get a starter beat up on special teams. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's usually going to be reserve guys for sure. And Stuart's from Montreal, so different Stuart. It's nice to meet you. I've not been to Montreal. I've been to Toronto, and I've been to Niagara Falls, and I've been to Vancouver and Whistler, but never to Montreal.
Yeah. I've been to Banff. That's about it. I need to get back up there. I'm really close to Vancouver. Hopefully they'll open things up here pretty soon for everybody who's got things going the right direction. And Jason, speaking of the right direction here, this is a good question. Is there a stat for a QB caused sacks? And unfortunately, Jason, it's kind of like interceptions where that you can kind of look at some statistics that may lean one way or another, but every single sack, every single interception tells its own story. You have to have the context of the play, the coverage, the tape, who did what in what play. But a lot of times, like sacks that are like 3+ seconds, you can lean into that being a QB caused sack or a coverage caused sack. But like a singular stat, there are some that can, I guess, point that direction, but none that I would put complete weight on without also the added benefit of analyzing the film next to it.
Yeah, I agree. We're looking at. I'm also looking up Malcolm Brown's question, which we'll hit next.
Yep,
coming from Alaska. So again, we like looking at numbers, and then we want to know why. If we can look at pressures, he got sacked. He didn't get sacked very much, but he was under pressure the whole time. So was he holding on to the ball too long, or was he getting rid of it at the right time? So that's a tough one. That's just one of those eye tests that watching the games will help. That's why I'm really looking forward to putting my eye on Denver Broncos. It's arrogant as hell to say, but I usually judge the analyst I'm watching if he says what I'm thinking, because I do have a good eye for these things, and I'm looking forward to watching and scouting the Broncos and doing the show full time in the fall too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to get your take here when we actually have a real life football to analyze here. But Malcolm Brown coming in here. Which Broncos coach is most likely to get promoted? Well, we've seen Brandon Staley climb the ladder very quickly. So he's one that obviously you could look at the defensive side of the football. Ronaldo Hill also moved up quickly from the Broncos as defensive backs coach. Now I believe he's the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. So that's one that they just keep plucking from Vic Fangio. That Vic Fangio match quarters, cover 4, cover 6, whatever you want to call it, is the soup du jour for NFL right now. I know some teams are still holding on to that cover 3, but I do not think that is going to stick around for that much longer as the main defense. I know Scott's probably a little bit happy to move on from Dan Quinn in that cover 3 as well. But Broncos coach to get promoted. I'm going to say Zach Ghazzani, wide receiver coach. He's done great work with the Broncos wide receivers. He's very highly regarded. He's still a young guy. So I'm really excited to see Zach Ghazzani, what his future holds. He's one also. And then also, of course, Mike Munchak, great offensive coach, offensive line coach, has experience as a head coach. He seems like one that could be plucked to be another head coach. But okay. Scott has something to say here about cover 3 defenses.
No, for me, it's Dan Quinn. I don't blame Dan Quinn nearly as much as I did Thomas Dimitroff, the general manager. I can almost not write anything about the Atlanta Falcons without taking a shot at Dimitroff and his overspending on skill players on offense. I can't do it. I always have it. As good as Julio Jones was, when you give up 50 points to the Packers, you don't trade 5 picks for a wide receiver in your next move. That was just asinine. Yeah. Anyway, going back to the question, let's take a look at defensive backs coach Christian Parker. 3 years in the league. So on that up and coming track, he's got a load of weapons on the defensive side of the ball. So let's see how these new guys come in and fit, how they gel. Some big free agent signings, big draft pick, how they come in. And if they're as successful as we think they can be, he's going to be a name on the rise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good one as well. Good call out, and call out also to Malcolm Brown. Thank you very much for the $5 super. We appreciate you up there in Alaska. And also, I believe from Zebulon here, this would be superstars. We don't have Moana running the 1s and 2s behind us, but when I see a Facebook post without any comments on it, that leads me to believe that it is the stars. So Zebulon, Omega Kevin Lind, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate you and hope you are doing well. Thank you so much.
Yes, and, the ZO is Kevin Lynn. That sounds like a fraternity to me.
And shout out again to Poppy, everyone saying thank you very much, Poppy, for being so just general. And also Jeremy, no bad eggs in Iowa. Apparently, there are bad eggs everywhere, but there are also a lot of good eggs. So
I've always said no one. It's like, well, that fan base or this fan base or that political part. Nobody has a monopoly on a-holes. They're everywhere. You can't get 10 of anybody together without there being one of those. It's usually me. That's how I recruit to my baseball team. I'm like, I'm the worst of the bunch. If you can deal with me, we're all good.
That's true. And Poppy saying you find people with warm hearts in Iowa, Jeremy, and you kind of have to. When you deal with 100-degree weather and humidity in one season, not as hot in the south, but then like in the wintertime, polar vortex, negative 40-degree wind chills. Yeah, you have to have some people with a little bit of a levity there. And if people ask me, have I seen Slipknot live? I have not seen Slipknot live. I am not the biggest metalhead, but you are a metalhead. Okay. I do I pretty much like all music besides like cookie cutter country, which is kind of, I guess, oh, you're from Iowa, you should like country. I like, more like folky kind of country. I play the violin as well. Played since like 3 years old. So anything that has a violin in it has my heart. But yeah, no, I'm not a Slipknot guy. Sorry. They're fun, but not for me.
Slipknot's not one of my favorites, but I am a metalhead from way back, without a doubt. I like music with passion, and frankly, I like strong women leads, going back to the days of Heart and Pat Benatar. So, okay. So someone, I was just having this conversation. Someone said, even country. I'm like, I love the Dixie Chicks, love them. So, you give me a powerful female lead, I probably like it. So, yeah, and Hollywood. If you're from Iowa and you're portrayed in Hollywood, you're going to have a Southern accent, because anything country is South. You're going to talk like this, even if you're from Maine. That's one of the things I've pointed out to my kids when we're watching this. I'm like, see how this person's talking with a Southern accent, and then the backwards redneck bad guy? Well, they're in Montana.
Yeah, that's a good call. Just a sidebar here real quick. My wife and I, after we graduated grad school, we did 5 weeks in Europe, just touring around, and we were with a bunch of Australians and Kiwis, which, my God, talk about a good time. And also, if you're traveling anywhere, if you cannot be the Americans because you're surrounded by Australians and New Zealanders, you're probably gonna have a better time. New Zealanders. But first time my wife stepped on a farm, born and raised in Iowa, first time she stepped on a farm was a cheese farm in Amsterdam. And everyone's like, oh man, you must be at home. She's like, this is my first time on a farm. So not for me. I have some family members with a farm, but on both sides, because let me be cliche, I guess. But yeah, no, it's a it's a good time. We all live on farms and we all grow potatoes, right? That's not true. It's Idaho. But let me see. Yeah, corn. I know. But everybody's like, oh man, you're from Iowa? What do you think about potatoes? I'm like, oh, well, actually my family is a soybean. They have soybean lots. They rotate sometimes for corn to keep the soil nice and good, but we don't want to go too far down
we're getting a little too redneck here. So let's get back to the chat.
Here we go. Ashton, right off here, joining us. Do you guys think Albert Okwuegbunam is going to pop this year? Well, Ashton, thank you very much for the comments. Albert Okwuegbunam is an interesting player here. I have a theory on wide receiver. It's not my theory. It's Matt Harmon, who does wide receiver work in the social media side of things. He does a lot of good work. I think he also works for the fantasy footballers. But he says that if a wide receiver has a trump card, that's something they can lean into and they can win. It's one reason that like somebody like DK Metcalf, who not the best route runner, not doing the most underneath, doesn't have the best ability to sink his hips, etc. But my God, he's huge and he is fast down the field and he can win. He has a trump card. He can win in this league. I don't know if that's the case for tight ends as much, because tight ends have to do so much in this league. Now, obviously, it's nice to have a trump card at the tight end position, but you also have to be able to do to find the soft spot in zone, to be an outlet, to be a blocker, to be a bunch of different things, a yak guy, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, Albert Okwuegbunam, while he has a trump card because he is big and fast and can run fast in a straight line, not the best blocker right now, and not much as far as contested catchability, route running, et cetera, et cetera. So while I do think he has a very interesting skill set, being 6'5", 265 at the combine, running a 4.4 940, that's off the top of my head. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That's awesome. He's going to have to become more nuanced in a lot of the different areas of the game to become a guy who could pop this season. Is it possible? Certainly. Absolutely. But typically tight ends, year 3, year 4, they're one of the positions that pops a little bit later. So is he going to pop this year? I think you'll see more of him this year. But I think pop is maybe a little bit too strong of a word. I think he might flash.
Let's the one question I have is how many footballs are there? There's so many guys that we're talking about. Cortland Sutton's got to come back into this offense. Jerry Jeudy's supposed to step up. We've already talked Patrick, Hamler, Fant. There's 5 guys right there that we expect to have good numbers. So how many opportunities is he really going to get? He should get enough. I would expect an increase. 11 catches, 120 yards. With an injury, we're reading about injury in there as a backup tight end, but how many chances is he really going to get? And maybe, as Nick says, if free agency takes away one of these weapons, then it's a step up. Because you were right. I was looking him up, like 4.49 at 260 pounds. Yeah, there's something to be said there. But where is he going to be in the list of receivers on here? Because we're talking about a lot of guys that we think can step up. And how long before you get to his name?
Yeah, no, that's a good call. And we got Ashton coming in here asking, is Fant generally a good blocker? I think he is. Just to lean on my, I wouldn't call it expertise, but just how close I am to the situation here, and having some insight in the actual organization as well. The Iowa Hawkeyes, you are not getting on the field as a tight end if you are not blocking, because that wide zone stretch is so reliant on that tight end on both the front side and the back side to do their job when they're running 12 personnel. So is Fant generally a good blocker? I think a lot is made of him struggling there because when he came in, he looked skinnier. He looked more like a giant wide receiver than a tight end. So people are like, oh, he can't block. He's not that classic, hand in the dirt guy. That's not true. He has been I would say he came into the league as a C+ level blocker. Last year, I thought he was actually a B level blocker, and he looks even bigger this season. So he also came into the league only 21 years old. I think he's 23 right now. So he was a really young player as well. And he is going to, I think he's going to actually be a pretty good blocker this year. I think people do underrate his blocking ability. And Ashton saying, Nick, always clutch with the stats. And then Charlie saying, accountant.
And then I got a smirk. Then I got a smirk with Charlie's response on there. So I always enjoy the and I know we have some people that just listen, so it's nice when you read those out too. But I did get a smirk out of that. That was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say, Jeremy coming in here, Shurmur needs to scheme the ball to Albert O to pop. The chance of that happening is very small. I want to push back against this just a tiny bit because of there seems to be this narrative, and I did it a few weeks ago also where or even last week, where we talked about just the 12 personnel. There's a narrative right now that, Pat Shurmur, he just lives in 11 personnel. He doesn't do anything for the tight end position when it comes to getting the ball to these other positions. And I thought I had it bookmarked, but the Broncos last year had the 4th highest rate of targets for tight end a game. So then they're only behind the Chiefs, who have Travis Kelce. They're going to get the ball to the tight end a lot.
You even have a graphic. You even went graphics on that one too.
I know. Right. Yeah, I did. I don't even know where I thought I bookmarked it, but I do not see it here right now. But also the Broncos last year. So the teams they were behind: the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. And the Eagles were high because they have 2 good tight ends, right? Like you have Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. You're going to get the ball to the tight ends a lot. So the Broncos, 4th highest rate of that. And then when it comes to, the Broncos use the tight end, but they're not using 12 personnel a lot. Well, that's also not exactly true. The Broncos actually are above league average when it comes to 12 personnel. Last year, they utilized 12 personnel, and that's with Nick Vannett as your number 2 tight end for most of the time. So they used 12 personnel 22% of the time, which was tied for the 11th highest rate in the league. So it's above average. It's close to average, but it's above average. And when the league average was 20%. So I think this narrative where, Pat Shurmur doesn't use 12 personnel. Well, I think Pat Shurmur, just like any offensive coordinator that's been in the league as long as they have, you adjust your scheme to your personnel. And when you have 2 good tight ends, you're going to find a way to use 2 good tight ends. It's maybe not going to be his base, but there's not a team in the NFL that uses 12 as their main offensive base. It's an 11 personnel league.
You could put a pretty good basketball team out there right now.
Yes.
If we start talking, Patrick, Sutton, Cortland, Seth Williams, and then the 2 tight ends, that's a jumbo package you could figure out there. So Pop's a good question again. What are your expectations? That's what I want to know. But before answering it, so what do you expect? What would Pop mean to you? And real quick on this with Max is we've got a Facebook user whose settings might be off, has asked a couple of times, how many, and this is where the answer comes from. how many 1,000 yards receivers do the Broncos have next year? There weren't any last year. So 2, maybe 2, or, is it spread out a little bit more where you up your yards in passing, but it's more evenly distributed?
This is a good question, and I do want to add all football and statistics are connected one way or another. All roads lead to the quarterback, but they're also connected to just how your team is set up. And that Panthers team last year was extremely young and therefore volatile and not consistent on defense, which meant that the Panthers a lot of times were having to play catch up. And that meant that you're going to have more chances for pass yards, et cetera, garbage time yards, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why Teddy had, not that Teddy's a bad quarterback or that DJ Moore / Rodney Anderson are bad receivers. They're not. They're quite good. But the part of it is because the Panthers defense was terrible and young and gave up a lot of points and yards. So the Panthers had to try to play catch up. I don't think it's going to be the case for the Broncos this year. This is going to be much more of a controlled, grinded out team this year. We got the 2 running backs that they're going to lean into, and the great defense on paper, at least, if everybody stays healthy. Knock on wood. But that's 2,000-yard receivers. I think Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy have the talent to be those guys for sure. But are the Broncos going to be in a position from a game-to-game script where they're having to push the ball to get both those receivers at 1,000 yards while also having not only is it Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, it's Tim Patrick, it's Noah Fant, it's the running back. So I would say under. I think you're going to see one receiver break 1,000 yards and you're going to see another one probably get like close, like 950 even. But there's too many mouths to feed, and just how this team is set up right now, I don't see them being a high octane offense out of necessity because they don't have that quarterback right now that they can do that, and the defense is too good.
And even 3 800-yard receivers wouldn't be out of the question. Would be something that's possible if everybody stays healthy. If you go Fant and you pencil in Fant as one of those guys.
Yep.
There's one question in here that I saw that got my attention a little bit, but I think I forgot it already. So my coffee's wearing. I'll have to go to a second one. But Ashton says, is it just fan perspective, or does it actually seem like the top teams get copied a lot? It's definitely a copycat league, and then it goes around. Oh, I know what I was going to say with your point about the number of receivers was the key, and it's key for me a lot, but I think it's especially going to be with this. But the key stat on this one's going to be the touchdown to interception ratio. That's got to get farther apart than it was last year. So take care of the ball, and the offense will take care of itself. So watch the turnovers, and if your turnovers to takeaways is good, Broncos are going to be pretty damn good. The touchdown to interception ratio is good. The Broncos are going to be pretty damn good. You can say that about a lot of teams, but especially for this one, because it shouldn't be about big numbers from the quarterback. It just needs to be about smart numbers, good efficiency.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And also a good point here from Ashton. The 1,000-yard season is going to be easier with the extra game added. That's very true. The other thing is also you got to stay healthy to have that 1,000-yard season. That's why a lot of times you see those Vegas bets and they're like, oh, that line's actually a little bit low for the under. It's like, well, it's because if that guy misses 6 games, he's automatically not going to get there. So that's something you have to account for as well. But it's definitely possible. And Charlie, I want to get to this one from Charlie. Saying I'm starting to get the feeling this is going to be another boring season of mediocrity with Teddy at quarterback to try and save Vic's job. You and I guess have a different opinion on boring. Obviously, I like the old school Broncos logo here. This is my dad's shirt from like the 80s. He actually had a run-in with Reggie Jackson wearing this shirt, a baseball player playing for the Dodgers at the time. There's a funny picture out there of that. But I'm all about the high octane offense. I get enough boring kind of plodding football watching my Iowa Hawkeyes. I love them, but I'm being a realist there. So it'd be fun to have a high scoring offense, but my God, if the Broncos can just play meaningful football games in November and December, I don't care how they're getting there. I just want something to cheer about besides draft position when it comes to week 13 through 18, I guess, this year. So if it's boring, as long as they're not turning the ball over and they're winning games and they're competitive, I will take it. That's not boring to me. I like winning footballs. It's like a good pitching duel, right? Like, oh, I want homers. I want to win. I don't care how it comes. I want W's.
And for me, I like defense. I'm interested. What's going to be exciting to me is hopefully seeing Chubb and Miller on the field at the same time. What was I reading? It's only happened like 4 games in their careers so far. That's crazy. So, get those guys together. I always try and make parallels to explain different sports that I like. What do you like about this? What do you like about this one? And I think of rushing the passer a lot like soccer. You can go at it all damn day, all day. And then when you get that one sack, you go berserk. It's kind of like scoring a goal. So I love defense. And that's why you hear me get so sarcastic about how they're not allowed to play defense anymore. You're not allowed to hit the quarterback. You're not allowed to hit the receivers. You're not allowed to cover, tackle, block, any of it. So I love defense. And, going out with 2 outside linebackers and crush the passer, plus your another one in Reed, I'm going to enjoy watching this team play defense. Forget about the offense.
100%. That's I like it either way. But we got this question here.
Yeah, the win. You want to win, and it's football. It's the NFL. It's not like other sports where even in the old days, anybody here old enough to remember the old 4 corners before the shot clock. The shot clock in college basketball isn't that old. Where you're just strangling the game. You're like, I'd rather lose exciting than watch this and win. This is just taking the life out of it. But I'm looking forward to watching this team play.
Yes, no, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that one. And we got a question coming in here, probably our last one here, unless there is a super chat that comes in. Oh, did we get one here? Oh, Tyler coming in. So we'll get to it for sure, Tyler, before we get on out of here. But we have a question here, off topic question, but how do y'all feel about the uniform change to the powder blue helmets paired with the color rush jerseys? Just put them together on Madden. Oh, Scott, we have our first big disagreement here. I love it. My God, I love the old school uniform. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's kind of a take on the uniform there with Cortland Sutton on a jersey swap.
But I don't call that powder blue.
Okay, what would you call this?
To me, that's more royal. Powder blue to me is like sky blue. I consider powder blue a light blue. So maybe I'm just wrong on that because that's the color I like. The old school Denver Broncos logo. That's what I absolutely like. So maybe I'm just wrong on what powder blue is, which wouldn't be the first time.
What about this guy right here? Like the old school Broncos rocking right here. Let's make it full screen.
That's good.
These ones. Okay, well, of course it's not going to play now because everything there we go. Oh man, that whatever color this is, these uniforms right here.
Yeah, that's a little lighter. That's a little lighter. So yeah, for me, it's more about the logo. When everybody, I swear it started when the Jaguars, who came with the Jaguars? The Jaguars and Panthers at the same time.
Yes. Everybody
went to that swoosh logo. Everybody. I hate it. I hate it. I like the old Denver Broncos D. And the Patriots, the Patriots Patriot down there in a 3-point stance.
Yes.
I love those old logos. That all looks so generic now that it's just boring.
100%. And like the fact that the Broncos D is like obviously like hand drawn. Like I think that there's just so much character in that. I think they tried to go. It's like when Back to the Future was made, they're trying to predict what the future is going to be. That's what those logos look like. They're like trying too hard to be futuristic, and it misses it completely. Like there's
everybody just looks the same. You change up the colors, and otherwise it's a Photoshop, and we're just changing our tints. Otherwise, it's cookie cutter. I like the old logos a lot better.
Me too. Tyler Randall coming in here again, double dipping today on Broncos for breakfast. Went back for a second pour of the. Are you a dark roast or light roast kind of guy?
I'm on the darker side.
Okay.
For sure. I want to taste it for sure. And then I drink it black.
Okay, good. See, I like a little bit of cream in there. But Tyler, do you think Julio gets 11 from AJ, or does he revert to his college number 8? It would be weird seeing Julio in a different number. Hashtag just curious. Hashtag Broncos for breakfast. What do you think, Scott?
AJ already said before. AJ's been tapping Julio up for 6 weeks.
Yes.
So AJ said 2 months ago, at least a while ago, that he'd give up 11 for Julio. So it'd be great to play with my idol. So I expect that to happen. I think Julio will be a number 11. But again, the number 8 would look pretty cool.
Yes.
Would look pretty cool. So AJ said he would. So it depends. Julio's not the type to come in and make those type of demands, though. So we'll see. But it is on the table.
Yeah. No, I've seen the swaps with the 8. It looks weird. But also I remember Julio at Alabama wearing 8 and just absolutely destroying guys. Wasn't there a big incident where like Nick Saban absolutely lost his bleep because somebody filmed a practice where he was like working with Julio to get him integrated in the offense and like didn't want to unveil what an absolute freak they had?
I don't know. The SEC coaches act like they're trading nuclear secrets, and it's been like that forever. It's crazy. And then I move out to California, and this is in the heyday of Pete Carroll's USC Trojans. And they're like, hey, come on in. We're open. Come watch everything. We're awesome. We know it. We don't care who knows it. Come on in. And meanwhile, you're not allowed to watch but like 15 minutes of practice at Georgia or Alabama. I got kicked out of summer camp at Georgia. Meanwhile, ESPN's filming Ryan Perrilloux down at Florida State, if you remember who he is, a quarterback. So a long time. But yeah, they're ridiculous with this stuff. I feel like Saban has eased up a little bit. Either that or everybody's just gotten used to it and they don't try anymore.
Yeah, and we got Jordan coming in here saying, a new listener, what's up? And then he also says, thank you, loving this Huddle Up pod. We appreciate you, Jordan, and thank you for finding us. So hopefully you like all the shows. It's Scott and I have the morning on lock, but there are shows every single day of the week and different themes, different flavors. It's kind of like ice cream. Some people love the coffee flavored ice cream. Some people, go nuts for fruit flavored ones. Some people like classic vanilla. That's okay. That's great. We have different flavors. It's great that other people have different preferences. We got Joel also coming in here with what I believe is stars here. Superstar Joel also, and also looks like Joel's got a picture here of a youngin. So congratulations to you, Joel, and your family. It's looks like 4 pictures of looks
like either that or a bunch of them,
or quadruplets. So either way, congratulations. Appreciate you. And guys, I think that's going to have to do it for us today. We obviously started a minute late. So I know, right? I don't want to be that's like I said, different brands. Huddle Up Pod already has we're running 15, 30 minutes late to start. That's their brand. I want to be on time. So we appreciate you guys, unless work for some reason keeps me from being on time. That is sometimes I have meetings that are in South Africa, which means I'm on work at 6 a.m., but that's okay. But we appreciate you guys. That's going to do it for us today for Broncos for Breakfast. We will see you again on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Make sure you guys find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. You can find Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me poking fun at everybody overreacting either way to the OTA interceptions, because my God, folks, they're going to happen. Do they matter a little bit? Yes. Is it the end of the world? No. Oh my God. Sometimes Twitter is such a toxic place. Twitter itself amplifies the emotional response in the moment that it happens. And then it just gets bad from there. Just have some levity, folks. We'll have some fun there. And oh man, see, talk about different flavors here. Coffee ice cream is confusing. Bitter taste, but sweet. Nah, see, I love coffee ice cream.
I love coffee ice cream. I had Jamocha shakes at Arby's all the time. Give me an extra pump of Jamocha in there too. Those are good. I used to come back out. I bagged groceries at Kroger when I was a teenager, and we'd get paid in tips, quarters, dollars, whatever. I stopped and got a Jamocha shake every single day. That was when I was 155 pounds and couldn't put on weight to save my life. Now I can look at a Jamocha shake and put on a pound.
Yes,
love
absolutely.
I love coffee ice cream.
Ah, man, so good.
How you do it? With mint chocolate chip on the bottom. So you start with a coffee and then you finish with the mint chocolate chip. You get a double scoop. And now we're learning things. Now we're learning.
And we got Michael coming in here with stars also here at the end. So shout out to you, Michael. We're going to run through and say hello to everybody. Also follow us on Twitter at HuddleUpPod and at Mile High Huddle. Guys, if you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. We appreciate the heck out of you. If you can do that, obviously, we appreciate everyone coming by, dropping super stickers, stars, super chats. You all are super in your own rights. But if you can't do that, obviously, different times, people are going through different things. That's totally fine. What you can do, absolutely for free, subscribe, like, and share this show on YouTube. Click those thumbs up, heart react, the wow react, the care react on Facebook. All those work for us as well. Also, guys, if you're liking this show, if you're liking what Scott's bringing to the table, go check out his channel as well at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. I'm going to drop it also in the chat here. You guys can just click that guy right there and it'll take you to Scott's channel. Hopefully, we're getting up to, by the end of this month, we're going to get Scott to 1,000. That's got to happen. So we'll keep working there. We'll keep plugging it, and hopefully you guys will answer the call. I also want to give a shout out to all of our superstars today. We got Max, Muhammad, Tyler, Gary Leeds Palmer, Pobby, obviously with the very helpful one, Malcolm Brown in the house, Zebulon, Joel Rivera,
Zebulon, Omega, Kevin Lind.
Nailed it.
Joel
Michael,
and Michael Ranculo. And yes. I did see your shirt on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. If you have any other questions for us, also, we're both very active on Twitter. So if we didn't get to something that you wanted, or a question on here, or just a topic you want to dig deeper in, or something that we said that rubbed you the wrong way, you're like, wow, that was a good point, Nick. You're a stable genius. Then just add us on Twitter. We can continue that conversation there. The football doesn't stop once the show is over. But got to get on out of here. Scott, what do you got going the rest of the day? Some more baseball stuff going on?
Let's see. I got an intro with my son's new soccer team. I got to go pick up my daughter from gymnastics camp, and then I'll probably watch some Euro friendlies today, some international football. So, nice little Tuesday. Do you have an international team of choice that you obviously USA number one? Just the US, but I'll watch a lot of. I'll watch where the Chelsea players are a lot. I'll watch a lot of England. I'll watch Germany. I'll watch Spain. I'll watch a lot of them. At least I think I want to, and then I'm like, okay, this is boring, and I'll watch something else when they're playing friendlies. I'll dual screen a lot of that and watch a lot of Twitter. I think, is it Mark that keeps saying I should go to the varsity? Someone said I should go to the varsity. It was Charlie. Charlie, last time I was at the varsity, I pulled a hair out of my French fries that I probably could have rappelled down a wall with. So I haven't been back. And plus, I've actually been a vegetarian for 5 years. So not a lot to offer at the varsity for me right now. So, but it is a good landmark. So,
oh my God. Well, that's
I remember one time, one story. We were on a field trip at the varsity when I was in high school, and long line as always. And someone, when I was probably a senior, as a freshman in front of me, and we get to the front of the line, the kid goes up there and goes, they got the menu on the wall like this, so you got to see it. It's like if you've been standing in line for 20 minutes and you don't know what you want by then, I grabbed him by the shoulders, moved him out of the way because they and the people working are like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yeah, no, we're not going to have that. He can get back in line and figure out what the hell he wants. So been there, but I haven't been back to the varsity in a long time.
And shout out to Pobby as well. Once again, thanks for the great show, guys. Thank you for swinging by, Pobby. We appreciate you, and thank you for leaving us on that story. I am going to go try to eat breakfast now, thinking about that long hair that you could rappel down with. God damn it! But thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Stay safe. We love y'all. Go Broncos.